Well, after 5 episodes, My Roanoke Nightmare has finally come to an end, but the big question is what the hell is actually going to happen next week? Hey guys, Kevin Martin from American Horror Story Roanoke, episode 5, and I definitely was really looking forward to this episode. Like I said, yes, I was a bit down with last week's episode, but like I said, that's only because of what the season is giving me so far. Like, I think they've been a little bit too focused on the, secondary characters and not enough on Matt and Shelby. And this episode I was hoping would fix that, and this was definitely the best episode of the season. I will definitely say that this episode was intense as hell. It was firing on all cylinders. There was so much great stuff going on this episode, and it seemingly was the season finale, but we know, of course, it's not the season finale. There's gonna be a huge twist next week, but this was kind of the last episode of My Roanoke Nightmare, which honestly I'm happy about. But let's just get into this episode because there is a lot of stuff to talk about in this episode, and I definitely really enjoyed overall. Some really crazy stuff going on. But let's get to the beginning, because the beginning finally gives us something that I think we have all been waiting for. We finally get to see Evan Peters' character in this episode. His character has been kept so secret. He's been in every episode. I thought he was going to be Piggy Pig, but he's not. We see historian Doris Kearns. Goodwin kicks off the episode by saying that there aren't many homes where the history is interesting as that of the Big Shaker Mansion on Sabony Road, built in 1792, and Evan Peters is playing none other than Edward Philippine Mott. Yes, that is the man that in fact built the home, the mansion that Shelby and Matt are currently residing in. So he buys the whole lot. He takes the collection back to the mansion, which is still being built. And I gotta say, I think they did a really great job with developing his character. The first 10 minutes are all Edward Philby Mott. They did a really good job with that. It's still being built and will include an underground tunnel system so that the artwork can be smuggled out if anything should happen. And even back in the 1790s, there were creepy happenings in and around the house. Edward left his family behind. He moved to North Carolina with his lover, who was a slave named Guinness. But even though he gave his wife and kids to be with Guinness, he confessed to loving his artwork more than he loved his partner. So just 2 days into owning this North Carolina mansion, Edward's awakened by loud noises. He finds his paintings have been destroyed. He thinks one of the people working for him did it. They swear that there were strangers hanging out in the woods. He locks his employees in the cellar, which really creepy stuff though. I mean, he did a really good job with cream us out, and he locks him in the cellar naked, telling him that they have to confess in order to be released. He looks up, and, he's convinced he knows what's going on, but he then sees the blood moon above the trees, and later the night, he's attacked in bed. He's brought outside to stand before the butcher and her people. They shove a large stake through his chest, and they hold him over a fire, as you would with a marshmallow. So when the authorities find him dead, they charge Guinness with murder. The house ultimately passed down through generations of Motts before being sold in 1952, which, is that implying that Dandy possibly lived in this house? I don't know. That's what I got from it, because we know that Dandy was in the 50s, but Goodwin says that no one has ever stayed there for long, and she would never spend a night there, especially not when there's a blood moon. And I thought that was the perfect way to start things off, because this is what we've been waiting for. We're waiting for Evan Peters' character. Finally, we have him, and was Edward the best character he's played? No, not really. I think Edward was kind of a one-dimensional character, but they did a really great job in developing him, just showing his fears, showing how intimidating he can be. He's kind of like a Mr. March, except he doesn't really kill. We definitely did see that. He doesn't exactly kill, but he's just as foul. Definitely, he's just as foul. He's just as rude. I mean, the scene where he was, slamming his foot, screaming lies, 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 that was really well done, and I think Evan Peters did a really good job. And definitely now it feels like American Horror Story now that we've seen him. I know people have been upset about that, but finally, excuse me. Finally, we got to see him in this episode, and definitely it was worth the wait. Now we're ready to catch up with Flashback Matt in the process of calling 911 to report a mob outside his home. Matt and Shelby then watch the mob gathered outside. They're standing by a fire and calling for their blood. So the blood moon hangs in the sky over the scene, and because they didn't leave when asked, they will now have to die. So Matt wants Shelby to take Flora and leave in the truck and not stop for anything, but before they can leave, a terrifying creature makes Shelby drop Flora, and outside the mob lights the trucks on fire. Matt and Shelby finally find Flora, but Piggy Pig appears, as do some of the people with missing parts of their heads, and this is definitely one of the grossest episodes of American Horror Story ever had. I mean, the amount of grotesque content in this episode is insane. There was so much grotesque stuff here, and they really did not hold back. I definitely will say that. They really did not hold back. So Matt, Shelby, and Flora are headed toward the cellar and seem to be trapped dead until Edward tells them that he can help, actually. He's there to help him. They're afraid, but really don't have any other choice, and I will admit, I didn't really think he was there to help him. Like, I thought it was going to be somewhere he wasn't there to help them, but he shows them the tunnel under the house, and current Shelby explains that Edward told him that the original owner, and they didn't have to question him for that. So that was definitely interesting. So they follow Edward into the tunnels. They learn that he was killed by the butcher. They walk a mile in the dark, smelly underground, and emerge in the woods. Edward leaves them there, saying that he can't take them any further, and that this is this is as long as they're gonna go. So this very well shows us that shit is definitely about to go down. Things are only gonna get worse from here, and indeed they do in fact get worse from here. So current Shelby says that in the forest they were nothing more than prey, and we go to flashback Shelby, Flora, and Matt. They're barely out of the tunnel when they're attacked. They're taken to the farmhouse where they find the Farrell boys and the hillbilly Polk family are there, and as badly injured Elias is there. I mean, he's really badly injured. The Polks found him full of holes, and their mom has been keeping him alive. Like I said, I knew for a fact Elias was not dead. He's missing body parts. He's crying, saying, "Mama took my leg," begging Matt to kill him. I mean, he's ready to die at this point. And just then, Mama Polk appears, which it's Frances Conroy. We find out it's actually Mama Polk, and I love this. This I absolutely love, because Frances Conroy always plays those, like, proper, just very direct and very sophisticated women, and this is the complete opposite of that. This is a rough, this is a rough, menacing, grim character, and I really do appreciate them for doing that. People say that they give the cast the same character every single year, but this is completely different than anything Frances Conroy has ever played, and I really was happy with that. We haven't seen her since Freak Show, so it was really cool to see her again, and they did a good job of keeping her hidden. I mean, I had no idea she was going to be in the season, so it was really cool to see him. Like, holy shit, it's Frances Conroy. So she offers Matt, Shelby, and Flora some jerky. Elias is warning them, of course, not to eat it. I'm assuming that it was tainted, and none of them do. Mama Polk is insulted. She tastes the jerky herself and throws down the tray, upset that it's spoiled because Elias is spoiled meat. There's no reason to keep him around, and Mama Polk, as one of her boys, smash his head in. But Mama Polk doesn't like Shelby Matt because they bought the house, and they readily agree to give it to her and tell her she can move in tomorrow. She, in fact, wanted the house, but Mama Polk says she wants to keep it empty because her kin made a deal with the butcher years ago, and her family is not bothered by her because of it, which is interesting, we found out. So the butcher needs free blood once a year, and Mama Polk and her boys help supply the people who, in fact, will be sacrificed. So we know that there, in fact, is something going on with the Polk family, and we've gotten hints that there's something about this family since episode 1, and we see that is, in fact, the case. You know, they basically are there to sacrifice Matt and Shelby, but to be fair, I mean, you can't really blame them. You know, it's really either them or them. You know, it's either Matt and Shelby or they kill themselves. You know, there really isn't any other choice. So basically, Matt and Shelby beg to be let go, but the Polks are going to take them back to the butcher. And current Shelby says the only place worse than being with the Polks was being at their own home. Obviously, it was a very dangerous place, and we see currently, she recalls being questioned over and over again by the cops who were holding her after Shelby turned her in, and flashback Lee repeats the same story to the sheriff in the interrogation room. She demands to be charged or let go, knowing they only have 48 hours to do something with her, and I really did like seeing Angela Bassett back in this episode. I missed her in the last one, so it was cool to see her there, but they only have 48 hours to do something with her, and currently says sticking to the truth got her released because they weren't able to trip her up because of the fact she was a cop, and they knew they couldn't do that. So outside the station, she turned on her phone and found out that Matt and Shelby had found Flora. So the Polks then take flashback Matt, Shelby, and Flora back to their house, but Matt is able to grab the gun from one of the Polks. He escapes from the back of the pickup truck before they reach the house, and current Matt says he thought they would be safer in the woods, facing the butcher. This made no sense to me. Why did you feel that facing the butcher would be safer? I had no idea what he was thinking. I mean, I get it that the Polk family made a deal, but at the same time, really, Matt, could you be any stupider, honestly? So flashback Matt, Shelby, and Flora are spotted by one of the Polks after Matt's phone buzzes. Lee figures out that something's wrong because Matt ignored her call, and obviously because of that, you know, there's definitely a reason why. You know, they don't just ignore her call for the hell of it, and she asks the sheriff, who was just interrogating her, to take her back to her house, and caught by the Polks once again. Mama Polk screams at them for killing her son. She can't kill them, but she does cripple Shelby really badly, honestly, so she can't run. She like stabs her in the leg. I mean, it was really graphic the way that was done, and Sarah Paulson did such a great job with seeming like she was in pain. So once again in the back of the truck, Shelby Shelby's only concerned that Matt saves Flora, because obviously they will do whatever they can to make sure that Flora lives. They promised that to Lee, and they want to keep that promise, and they're not just gonna, not keep that. They're not gonna forgo it. They will make sure that it stays that way. So Colonel Matt says he actually gave up and he just tried to be there with Shelby because he knew that there wasn't really anything left to fight. He was there to be with Shelby, and he thought they would both die as soon as the truck stopped. Shelby cries thinking about all the things she wanted to do with her life, including becoming a mother. And flashback Matt, Flora, and Shelby are taken to the butcher and her people. I thought this was a good scene that was the two of them. I actually really did like this scene when they're reflecting and they're in the back of the truck and there's nothing they can do. They're completely helpless here. They don't know they know exactly where they're going. They know what's going to happen to them. They don't know what's going to become of them, but they know where they're going and what exactly is going to happen. And just seeing Matt, kiss her, it showed that they do in fact have this true love and they're willing to put that past behind them. And I really did like this. For me, was this the best character development they could give them? No, but it's better than no character development at all. And I definitely did like seeing them give them at least something to do, something more interesting than just them being Matt and Shelby and making stupid decisions. It definitely was more interesting than what we've gotten so far. So I really enjoyed that. So flashback Matt, Flora, and Shelby are taken to the butcher and her people. The butcher says that Flora's going first, and Flora screams bloody murder. Current Shelby calls what happened next inhumane. So flashback Lee and the sheriff pull up. They see the butcher's group with their torches in front of the house, ready to kill Matt, Flora, and Shelby, and they're ready to die at this point. They know they have no other choice. Lee tells them to call for backup, but instead he literally backs up, flees the scene, leaving Lee alone to try to save her family. Now, I get why he did that, obviously, he was terrified, but the butcher announces that the land belongs to the colony. Just then, before she's about to kill, Ambrose actually takes action, and he says that he's tired of killing, he doesn't want to kill anymore, and we've known this. We've known that Ambrose has been against killing since the butcher ever started, attending to it. And the butcher announces the land belongs to the colony. He pulls his mother into the fire, and Edward sets Shelby and Matt free. The pigman's about to kill Flora when Lee runs him over with a car, and the pigman's dead. So we never got to find out who the pigman was. That pissed me off. I will say that. I want to know who the pigman was. We never found out. But the butcher emerges from the fire completely immersed in flames. Lee speeds away with her family, and they seem to get away. So Kermit says he still can't explain everything that they saw. Shelby says those months were a terrifying nightmare, and she's grateful that she'll never have to go back. So we see them check into this super cheap motel. That is, of course, the way they connect hotel, because like I said, every episode, they're kind of connecting to a different season, and it seemed like that was a very subtle way to connect hotel, but not having any money left to their names, but at least they're alive and together. Shelby's on crutches. She's heading to the shower after Matt finishes his up. She opens the door. The butcher slices her head open with a cleaver. Luckily, it's just a dream, though. Current Shelby says to this day she still has that particular nightmare. Nothing has helped, not even therapy. She's not sure that she'll ever heal or ever really overcome it, because after that, it's kind of hard to overcome that, and that's apparently the end. We see that's the end of their Roanoke nightmare. We see that this is kind of the end of this half of the story, but there's definitely much more to be going on, and I'm going to talk about really what I think is going to be happening next week. Definitely I want to talk about that. So, like I said, for me, this was the best episode of the season. I thought this episode was really intense. There was so much great stuff going on here. And this felt like classic AHS. This is one of the things where completely just, falls to the wall. We didn't know what was going to happen. The problem with this episode, though, is that I was hoping they would reveal that Matt and Shelby were ghosts. And they might still be able to reveal that. I don't know. But let's talk about what this twist is going to be, because clearly my Roanoke nightmare is over. I'm happy with that. I was willing to stick with this documentary, but the problem was it really did hold us back. We don't really know a ton about Matt and Shelby. We really don't. We know that they're a perfect couple. We know that everyone ridiculed them for it, and we know that Shelby had a miscarriage. Other than that, we don't really know what's going on with them, and I'm sure we'll find out more about that. I'm glad that we are getting rid of my Roanoke nightmare. I liked it. I thought it was a cool idea, but you can't do an entire season of it. And I'm looking forward to seeing what the second half is going to be, because all we got for that promo is Cheyenne Jackson and his camera crew saying keep rolling and never stop rolling. So I don't really know what's going on there. What I'm thinking, because I've really thought about this, I think that the supposed reenactment of Matt and Shelby and Flora and Lee are not actually reenactments. I think this is actually going on right now. I think that he forced them to make this documentary, and he's tired of hearing all the big events, so he's going to do what he can to get to the bottom of it, because he knows there's something more going on. He doesn't know what it is, but he will get to the bottom of it to make sure what is going on, and I'm looking forward to seeing what that's going to be. But how do the, Lily Rabe and André Holland, and Adina Porter, how did they play a part in this? What did they really have to do with it? I don't know. I don't know what their part of the story is. I know they're going to get involved somehow, because we know that Cuba Gooding Jr. kind of said that he had a scene with André Holland. So definitely there's something weird going on there. We don't know what it is. If they're the actors or not, I don't really know, but we'll have to find out what's going on with that. I'm pretty sure we're going to go behind the scenes next week. That's what I'm thinking. We're going to go behind the scenes. We're going to find out what's really going on, and we're going to finally get to the bottom of this. I mean, if you look at the promo, they finally are calling it Roanoke. They're not calling it My Roanoke Nightmare anymore. They're calling it Roanoke, and it looks like next week is going to be the official start. We're probably getting an intro next week. At least I think that's going to happen. I think we're going to get an intro, and I'm looking forward to seeing what's going to happen with that, because there are so many unanswered questions, and there's obviously going to be answers to them. Like, who was the Pigman? What was the point of the Pigman? Why was he there? Who was he? Is he still out there? I mean, yeah, Lee ran him over, but is he still out there? Why, who is the Pigman? Things like that. I'm looking forward to seeing what's going to happen there. The Butcher's definitely not done. I know the Butcher's coming back in some form. We're going to see her again before the season ends. I know that's going to happen. Kathy Bates is too good for them to kill her off in episode 5. That's just not happening. Ambrose, I think, is coming back too. I definitely see him coming back. I see Evan Peters coming back. I think everyone is going to come back in some way. I don't know how, but they're going to come back. And definitely, I think that's going to happen. I don't know what role that Matt and Shelby are playing in this. They might not play a huge role in the rest of this. Maybe it'll just be Cheyenne Jackson trying to get answers. And if that's what it's going to be, all right, that's really interesting. They even said that 6 through 9 feels like a completely different show. And I don't really know what's going to happen with that. I think that's going to be very interesting. I think we're going to find out more about Edward, definitely. The problem right now is that all of these characters feel very, very one-dimensional. And that's really my thing with this season so far, is that Matt and Shelby in general, we don't know a ton about them. Elias is there to, give exposition, give answers. Edward's there to protect them, and the Butcher was the villain. The characters that were developed were very well developed. The Butcher was an extremely well-developed character. I think Elias was very well developed. I think even Edward was really well developed. Even though Edward's not exactly original, he was very well developed. It's Matt and Shelby that are such a blank slate. I know zero to nothing about them, and I think that it's intentional. I really do. I haven't complained as much as I have, because I think that it's intentional. I think there's a reason why they haven't told us a ton about Matt and Shelby, and I think it's because there's more going on. I don't know if they're ghosts. I don't know if they're hiding something, but there's definitely more that we're going to get to the bottom of, and I can't wait to see what's going on with that, because there's definitely more going on there. But overall, guys, I don't know what else to say. I have no idea what's happening next week. They even said, don't even try to come up with anything, because probably I'm wrong with what I said. I think there's definitely some more going on. I'm probably wrong. I'll tell you that right now. I'm probably wrong. If you guys are watching this past episode 6, you know I'm wrong, probably. I mean, I'm going to say it right now. I think I'm wrong, because I don't think that they would trick us. I don't think the writer would say it's a huge twist and then have it not be a huge twist. I know last season people kind of felt upset because he did the twist with John being the killer, and everyone knew that John was the killer. I'm hoping it's nothing like that. I'm hoping this is not something predictable where it's like, oh, of course that was going on. I'm hoping it's not like that. I'm hoping it makes sense too. I'm hoping that makes sense. I'm hoping that makes the season all the better for it, because I'm really loving this season. There are just a lot of things that are starting to irritate me, and I'm hoping that this twist really fixes that. We'll have to see though. Either way, guys, I know you guys saw this episode. I love this episode as an episode. I just didn't feel like the character development's really there yet, and I feel like, again, that's been intentional. But what do you think of the documentary format? Are you sad to see it go? What do you think the twist is going to be? I'd love your thoughts on that. What do you think the promo means? Who's Pigman? Are we going to find out more about Edward, Elias, all those characters? That's my review. We still have yet to meet Finn Whitrock and Matt Bomer. We know they're in the season. Jacob Artis is in as well. We don't know his character, so I'm sure we're going to find out more about them as well, but we'll have to see. Again, something that's been so great about my Roanoke Nightmare is how small it's really felt, and I feel like the second half is going to be completely different. It's going to be so much bigger. We're going to find out so much more, and again, I can't wait to see what happens next week. I honestly want next week's episode right now. That's how I haven't been looking forward to American Horror Story episode this much in a while. Well, ever since the premiere, actually, I haven't been looking forward to one this much, because the fact of what we can do, there's so much potential with this story. There's so many places we can go, and I really hope that they don't, that they take advantage of it and don't, botch it somehow. But we'll have to see. That's my review. Hope you guys enjoyed them. What you guys thought of this episode overall? What'd you think of this first 5 episodes? Where do you think the show is headed? That's in my review. Hope you guys enjoy it. We'll see you guys in my next video, which will be one of 3 things. I don't know which one it'll be. It'll be for Empire, it'll be for Designated Survivor, or it'll be for Big Brother Over the Top. I don't know what order I'm watching them in, but I will see you guys for that. Okay, bye.